Hello and welcome to the Whirly Bloke channel. Today I'll show you how to get the RSSI value in your OSD even if you don't have a telemetry enabled receiver. If you're using a receiver that's telemetry enabled like the FrSky R-XSR, it'll automatically show the RSSI, the received signal strength indicator value, on your transmitter. And if it doesn't show up, it's easy enough to enable it. And this is great because it means you know when the signal is low and it can trigger alarms on your Taranis. And this works with all Taranis transmitters like the X9D, the Q7 and the X-Lite and so on. And what this means is that you'll get a warning from the transmitter telling you that the RSSI signal is low and you should probably get back within range. And that's especially useful if you've got Failsafe set to drop and you're flying a long way out over water or rough ground. If the RX signal disappears, the quad will failsafe and just drop out of the sky, and you'll need to get your scuba gear out or go for a very long walk to recover it. So here I've got a diatone R349 that I fitted with an FrSky R-XSR receiver which supports telemetry. I've got my transmitter turned on, and if I plug the quad in and it's not too close to the radio,
telemetry recovered.
There we go. We can see the RSSI indicator is showing here. It's just a little bar graph that goes up and down. And if I turn this off,
telemetry lost.
It gives me the warning and the little symbol has disappeared. Plug this back in.
Telemetry recovered.
Now if we go back to page 12 on the Taranis, we can see here we've got the actual RSSI value, and these are the low and critical alarms which you set, and you can trigger an audible warning when it gets down to these values. Now what's happening here is the transmitter sends signals to the quad when I waggle the sticks around, and because the receiver has telemetry, it sends flight controller sensor data back to the transmitter on its special telemetry channel. And that means you can display things like battery voltage, current use, and for us now RSSI, which is displayed on the screen here. And you can set all sorts of alarms and warnings to trigger when that gets to a certain level.
RF signal critical, RF signal low.
And I've covered this in another video up here. Most of the time this is what I use for the RSSI information. I get an audible warning when the RSSI signal is low or disappears, and I've configured this switch
4 minutes 94 decibel
to read out the RSSI value and also the battery voltage. Obviously it needs calibrating a bit, and that means I can hear what it is even when I've got my goggles on, and it also tells me the battery voltage. And again, I've covered how to do this in detail on another video. But if you really want to display the RSSI signal in the OSD on your goggles, you need to assign this data to a channel on the radio. You need to fiddle with all the scaling to get it right, and then configure BetaFlight to use that channel to display the RSSI in the OSD on your goggles. So the RSSI signal starts out here on the receiver because it knows how strong the signal is, and it transmits it back to the Taranis on its special telemetry channel. It's then transmitted back out on the channel that you've assigned on the radio, back to the quad, picked up by the receiver, given to BetaFlight on the flight controller board, which then sends it to the video transmitter, which mixes it with the video signal and then sends that back and displays it in your goggles. Yikes, it's quite a lot to do. And that's why I tend to just use the RSSI value and the alarms on the Taranis, because it takes a while to set all that up and get it correctly configured to display in the OSD in your goggles. So what about if your receiver doesn't support telemetry? Are you losing out? Well, no, and in fact things are much easier, but you don't have quite as much flexibility. The FrSky XM and the full range XM Plus are very popular receivers, mainly because they're small, light and very cheap. They're particularly popular in ready-to-fly tiny whoops, but these receivers don't have telemetry, so you can't get the RSSI data back to your transmitter. But fortunately, FrSky have kindly put the RSSI data on one of the receiver channels, so it's pretty straightforward to display this on the BetaFlight OSD. And you can even set on-screen warnings. And what this does is basically shortcut that big round trip to the transmitter we had to do with a telemetry enabled receiver. And the channel that FrSky used to put the telemetry on depends on the firmware that these have been flashed with. It will be either on channel 8 or channel 16, or maybe even none. I've always found that the default channel for any XM or XM Plus receiver I've bought is channel 16. And the quickest way to find out which channel it's on is by connecting it up and having a look. So here I've got an XM Plus in this Mobula 7 and my Taranis is turned on and everything's bound. And you'll notice here there is no telemetry signal because there's no telemetry coming off the receiver. And you need to make sure the receiver is powered up and working to do all this setup. If your quad doesn't power the receiver from the USB, then you just need to connect a battery. Okay, so if we go over to the receiver page on BetaFlight, and we can see it's all connected up because if I waggle the sticks around, I can see things are moving. But here on AUX 12 there's a wacky signal that's wanging up and down, and this is the RSSI data the XM Plus is sending direct to the flight controller board on channel 16. Ignore the labels here, they're just labels. AUX 12 is actually channel 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now, if you see this on AUX 5 here, that's channel 8, and that's fine. But if there's nothing, you need to flash the receiver with different firmware. If you check out the FrSky website, you'll find the one that you need. If you go to the FrSky website on FrSkyRC.com and hit the download page, you just need to go to receivers, load more, and we'll check out the XM Plus first. Remember, this does work for XM and XM Plus. A lot of people think it only works on the XM Plus, but that's not true. Okay, if you go to firmware. On the firmware page, we've got a number of different firmwares. We've got the FCC version, which is for international, and then we've got LBT, which is for UK and Europe. And if we look here, we can see that there's a version which is LBT and RSSI 8. It says channel 8 output RSSI, and there's another version here which outputs RSSI on channel 16. So if you've got no signal at all appearing on the receivers page, you need to download one of these two and flash it onto your receiver. The reason they give the option of both, either channel 8 or channel 16, is some people may be using just channels 1 to 8 if they want a faster 9 millisecond frame rate, in which case you can do this on channel 8. If you're using 16 channels, then you can use this version here. Just download these, whichever one you want, flash it onto your receiver, and you're good to go. And if we go back and check the XM, if we look on XM, it's not quite so easy to see, but if you download the firmware, unzip it, you'll notice that in the zip file There's the FCC versions and the LBT versions, which is international and EU again. But you'll notice there's versions which are labelled RSSI 8 and RSSI 16, same for FCC. So just download the one that you want. These two versions here that don't have the RSSI name in them, they are ones which don't transmit the RSSI out on any channel at all. So all you need to do is download the version that you need and flash it onto the receiver. And this video up here shows you how to do that. I won't go through it now. So just download the version that you need and flash it onto your receiver, and this video up here will show you how to do that. We can see here that this is using BetaFlight version 3.5.7. The first thing to do is to go to the configuration page and scroll down to RSSI, and you need to make sure that this is turned off. And I'll say it again, this needs to be turned off. If the RSSI analog to digital converter setting is turned on, it'll override the direct RSSI signal that comes off your receiver, and you'll get weird and low values. If it's on, turn it off and hit save and reboot. Personally, I prefer to power cycle the whole quad when I've made this change, just to make 100% sure. So if that's been set and you've saved everything and it's all okay, go back to the receiver page and set the RSSI channel to be either AUX 12 or AUX 5, depending on which version you're using. I'm going to be using channel 16 for this, so we'll set it to AUX 12, which is channel 16. And remember to hit save. A quick check to make sure this has worked correctly is to swap back to another page, any page will do, and then go back to the receiver tab. And if this hasn't saved and it still says it's disabled, then you've got the RSSI ADC turned on the configuration page. And this catches everyone out. They always set this and then can't understand why when they save and they've set RSSI channel, it doesn't save. Now go back to the main setup page, and the RSSI percentage should be flickering around up near 90 to 100%. And this is the value that can be displayed in your goggles. RSSI is measured in dB, so why is this a percentage? I can only assume the BetaFlight devs can't predict the actual performance of different hardware that's going to be used. If you know why, let me know in the comments. So if your transmitter is near, but not too near the receiver, and this is around 90 to 100%, you're pretty much good to start setting up the OSD. But if this value is low or stupidly low, down around 20%, then there's a bit more to do. Go to the CLI and type get RSSI. The default RSSI scale is 100 and the offset is 0. These set the scaling and the origin of the RSSI values. Now there's a couple of schools of thought here. One of these are these defaults that the BetaFlight devs have set. And there's another thought, the scale should be 200 and the offset should be minus 100. The net result of these is about the same, and to be honest, unless you're planning any long range, just use the defaults. And no one in their right mind would do long range with an XM or an XM Plus receiver. And if you're going to set these values accurately, you need to get out in the field and check the range and where the failsafe kicks in. It's an interesting exercise, but if you just want to fly your tiny whoop, use the defaults. One other thing, if the RSSI value you're seeing seems to work out the wrong way round, the percentage gets larger the further the transmitter is away from the quad, the RSSI invert may be on. Just set it to off. And remember, if you change any of these values, go down here and type in save, otherwise they'll be lost. That'll also do a reboot. Now to get this value displayed in your goggles on the OSD, go to the OSD page and make sure the RSSI value here is selected, and then you can drag that around to wherever you like it. Personally, I prefer it in the top left. And once you've done that, remember to hit save or it won't be there next time you do it. And you can also set the alarm value. I've got mine set at 45, which basically means that when it gets down to 45 on here, this will start flashing. Okay, so next thing, go back to the setup page, and if everything is turned on and set up, the RSSI should be flickering up round 90%, something like that. And the arming disable flags will be MSP, and that's because your USB cable is connected. It's a safety feature in BetaFlight. It stops it arming and turning the motors when the USB cable is actually connected. But watch what happens when we turn our transmitter off. The failsafe has kicked in, but the RSSI stays at the last value that it was, and it's just not moving anymore. And this is because of the way the fallback failsafe settings are configured by default. Now, you can leave this if you want, but to make it right, go to the failsafe page and change the fallback settings for AUX 12 to be set at a value of 1000. Here we can see it's set to hold. So we set that to 1000. What that means is that when failsafe kicks in, the value on AUX 12 goes to 1000, which is 0 in RC terms. 1000 to 2000 is the basic minimum to maximum. So hit save and reboot and turn your transmitter back on.
Welcome to OpenTX disarmed flight mode angle.
And the RSSI is now back to about 90%. So if you turn your radio back off, the failsafe kicks in and the RSSI value goes back to the set value which you've set at 1000, which equates to 0. Now there's quite a lot in here, but hopefully I've unmuddled any confusion. Setting this up for an XM or an XM Plus receiver actually only takes a few minutes and can save you bacon and a lost quad. But as always, when you're doing your maiden flight for a new quad or a new receiver, don't go mad straight away. Just cruise around on a couple of packs and find the limits of the radio and the video. Thanks for watching, and if you found that useful, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. And if it's your first visit, then please consider subscribing to the channel for updates. I'll see you next time.